y'all? Welcome to another episode of Roundball Ramble. I'm your host, Corban Ford. You can follow me on Twitter at CorbanNBA. This is part of the Sports Ethos family podcast, so check them out on Twitter at Sports Ethos, online, sportsethos.com. They got it all: gambling, fantasy, basketball, baseball, football. You want it, they have it, so check them out there. Today on Ramble, I've been talking about this for weeks, and I feel bad putting on air because now I feel like a hypocrite, but we're finally doing draft stuff. I had promised this for 4 weeks now because I was going to put my own board out, and I've decided not to because I thought, let's just get the experts on. I'm so happy to have on the entire crew for the first time on the show. I've had each member on in different combinations over the last 2 years, but now we have all three of Stone Hansen, Cooper Klein, and Bryce Hendricks. You can follow them all on Twitter, respectively, at Bryce Hendrick 14, at Report Court for Stone, and at Ali_oop_Coop for Cooper. Listen, y'all, I'm just going to throw it at you. How y'all doing today? And just how your answer is up to y'all.
Good, man. I'm excited to be doing a mock draft. We were talking about, should we do one on upside swings? We're like, let's just wait because Corban reached out to us about a month ago. I was like, hey, at some point someday, do you want to do a mock draft? And we were all like, hell yeah. So I'm glad to finally be here. Corban's caught up on some draft work, so can't wait.
Oh, I'm so excited, y'all. This is going to be a blast. Coop, Stone, thank y'all as well. Bryce, yeah, I'm full of energy. Let's get to it. So we've worked out a tankathon order. We have a rough order here. The Upside Swings guys have been gracious enough to let me go first. And, it was a hard decision here in a two-person draft, but I'm going to go with Derek White. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to just start our selection off the top, go in order, share some analysis of some of our picks, and we're doing the entire first round, which is really kind of cool, not only from a learning perspective for me, but also doing a little bit extra insight past the lottery into this upcoming draft class. So I'm definitely going to get y'all thoughts on it as we go along, but are y'all ready? We can just get started here. All right, well, here we are. I have the first pick, which is kind of crazy, but it's also a simple one with this first pick, which, by the way, would be going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. We are taking Victor Wembanyama, which I think is, if anyone's been at all aware of this draft, was the easy pick to go with. Victor Wembanyama, at this point, I think he'll be 19 in the draft. But 7'4", 210 pounds, like the dude does it all. He's a unicorn right now, averaging like 21 points, around 9 rebounds, just under 4 assists, 3 blocks. His three-point shooting's kind of dipped. He was shooting over 30% when I was last mocking him, and I think it's slightly underneath that. But at the end of the day, the guy handles like a guard. His frame is crazy. He's doing 3-point floaters. Like, I don't know how to describe this. I'm going to throw him to y'all. Is he really – this is the question I'm going to post to y'all. Is if people are saying, oh, well, he'd be the first-round pick, last year's draft or the year before. As far as prospects, y'all have now analyzed several different ones over the last couple of classes. Is he number one or at the top or near the top of your collective list of prospects that you've scouted?
He's in the same tier for me as Luka, and those are the only two in that tier for me. So I would say he's one of, if not the best prospect I've ever scouted. And on both ends, is really where it comes from. Like, he's an amazing defender. Him next to Chet would be awesome. I think a lot of people would be rooting for that duo. With all the other guards that they have in OKC as well, and then just the ability to interchange those two at center or play them both as twin towers. There's just a lot of options and versatility you can go with into that lineup, and Wembanyama is the top of the talent in this class, which is a loaded class.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the top guy. He's probably the best guy I've ever scouted. I haven't done a ton, but at the very least I would say he's probably the best guy since AD, and I might even go so far as to say the best ever. I think his contemporary is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right, in terms of just never seen it before type talent. So yeah, I think Wemby is absolutely the number one guy. You mentioned it being a two-person draft. I disagree with that on two fronts. One, because I think there's more than two guys who are really, really good. And two, because I think Wemby is the one. I think it's almost a 1+some draft because there's no one else like him at the top.
Gotcha.
There's just a point where he's dominating the French First Division as like a 19-year-old and also having crazy flashes. And like Stone said, it's on both ends. He's incredible. Probably the best I've ever seen. Ridiculous potential if everything clicks. I mean, it's tantalizing, and he's already incredible. Like it's not like a John Butler situation where it's like 90% projection and cool tools. He is truly dominant. But if we're done, peeing ourselves over Wemby over here, I'll take the second pick with the Houston Rockets. And I think I'm going to surprise some folks, but with the second overall pick, Houston Rockets are going to select Amen Thompson out of the Overtime Elite. So there's somebody who I think you guys, that at least a few people are going to be upset that I didn't take, but at the end of the day, to me, the difference between Amen and Scoot, who I think Scoot's the guy who I think people are going to be mad about, but I think there's a chance Amen could be the best player in the NBA one day. 6'7", mega athlete, ridiculous two-way talent, has it all except for the shot. I just historically, when was a 6'2" player the best player in the NBA? I know. I mean, I don't want to base my entire thing off that. Amen, I think, is also just a better fit with the team, can play a connector role, can play a point guard role. The Rockets need more defense. We absolutely suck defensively, apart from like one lineup. And Amen can play multiple roles. He can fill, there's just so much versatility there. And we honestly don't need another guy who can only play on the ball. We need more versatility, more on and off ball ability. And Amen just brings that to a completely different level.
Good pick. Coop knows that I'm with him on Amen, so I won't spend too much time there. But I'm absolutely there that he is the second guy for me. And I'd go so far as to have him in a tier of his own. I think he does a lot of what Scoot does, but is 5 inches taller, more of a quick decision maker than Scoot. And listen, I think Scoot's going to be really good as well. I have some questions there in a way I just don't with Amen, and that's kind of where I come away with it. So I think that's a good pick. I think that's the right pick, but I understand why some would be potentially upset.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to let Stone, if you have any thoughts, respond. But I have a question. Oh, okay. Well, I have a question about that because I definitely, from what I see, that's a very good pick. But I've heard, and again, we've seen this all over, but like if Victor wasn't in this draft, Stone, we'd be Scoot, not Stone. Scoot would be the number one pick. Obviously, that isn't maybe a sentiment shared here, but what about him? I guess I don't want to say it's a bandwagon thing, but because you guys mentioned how much Amen brings pretty much the same things to the table, maybe a lesser shot, but obviously much more in a taller package than Scoot, but Scoot's kind of run away, it seems like, with the number 2 pick noise since the beginning. Is it just from what, like, the exposure that he's had? Is it because of the quality competition, in the G League as opposed to Overtime Elite? Like, I guess I'm curious as to why the narrative is framed in such a way, so heavily favoring Scoot, regardless of, I'm not saying that he isn't a worthy second pick, but just, I haven't even heard, like, it's always been, what's the race for number 3? Because Victor and Scoot have just been penciled in at the top 2.
Yeah, I think everything that I've heard is just, it's Overtime Elite. It's that people do not buy the competition level. And I don't think that's fully fair. I mean, Amen and Azar dominated their Euro tour, where they played legitimate EuroLeague teams, and they basically dominate on a consistent basis. Like they're not playing poorly in this league, right? Like they are truly dominating. I'm pretty sure both of them, both the Thompson twins, are close to averaging triple doubles in the OTE, at least per 36. They don't play like full 48-minute games, so the rates are weird. But like the athleticism, everything there, I think it just gets overlooked because Scoot plays in the G League, plays tougher competition, and everybody just, every time you talk about the Thompsons, it's just, oh, but they play high schoolers, and that not entirely true.
I do think it is like a little bit weird that it's not closer than what the narrative is between those two, especially because Scoot's like missed a lot of time with injury. So I feel like there's more time for the Thompsons to have catched up to that narrative. But we'll see what happens. There's a lot of more draft cycle to go through still. I guess I'll go with my pick for the Charlotte Hornets at number 3. I will be the people pleaser. I'll take Scoot here. I think that it's not the cleanest of fits next to LaMelo, but I'm just going for probably, I guess, talent over anything. And having not watched a ton of Thompson twin tape as of yet, I can't confidently take the other Thompson twin, so I'll have to defer to Scoot here. And I think that it's still like a really good pick to take Scoot at number 3, even if it's you have LaMelo there already. I think LaMelo's sort of developed into this guy who can shoot off ball more than people originally thought. They can each take turns, slicing up the defense and facilitating in different ways. And having someone that's able to be as big as LaMelo and play off ball, I think makes it work just fine. And it's not like Terry Rozier's probably in their long-term plan. So I think that those two, despite sort of the overlapping skill set, are good enough to make it work over the course of time.
Yeah, that's the right pick. I mean, I think Scoot is the third guy. Like, I wasn't trying to hate on him or anything, saying I have Amen too. It's more of a love Amen versus dislike Scoot or anything. I think Scoot would have been, probably in the same tier as Paolo for me last year. So for what that's worth, so I think that's probably the right pick. How he'll fit in Charlotte is a bit of a question, but Charlotte's such a mess that they just need anything. All right. I'm up with Detroit. So this is sort of a weird spot because, like, what does Detroit really need? You like Ivy as like your point guard type. You hope Cade can develop into your superstar, but obviously you have another swing here if you're with the 4th pick. You like Duren, maybe you like Isaiah Stewart, maybe Sadiq Bey, trying to fill out those other spots. I'm going to go with what some might view as a weird reach here, but for me, I'm just all the way in on him. And that's Bryce Sensabaugh from Ohio State. I know this is high, but I think he is probably the best scorer, like wing scorer I've ever seen, aside from Luka. But I just I don't know. That's obviously a little much, but he's so fun to watch. The handle's there, the shot making's there. I think he'll shoot at a high level off the ball as well. I don't think the defense is awful. I think he makes some plays. I think he's just like a really nice secondary creator wing. And to get that at 4, I'll take that. Even though I think some of us might not be happy with me.
It's not an awful pick. Like, for every single reason you said, Sensabaugh is awesome. He is truly incredible. Like, we just talked about him on the pod. He makes great decisions. He's a great wing. He can do some guardy stuff. He can score at all 3 levels. Solid defender. But if this was Troy Weaver in this spot, I think there's another name that he has been lusting after for a while that he would have gone and gotten, and who I think would have fit better personally. We'll talk about him later. But can't go wrong with Sensabaugh, but I do think there was a better pick here available at 4.
This is just Bryce elitism at its finest. Bryce taking Bryce. That's the only reason I've come to that term.
I like it. I mean, I love Bryce, from what I've seen. I mean, Bryce Hendricks as well, but Bryce Sensabaugh, the way he's able to score. I said it's like an old school take, but I don't know if people remember Jamal Mashburn, but watching him kind of play with 6'6", kind of with 6'8", go out forward. They play with the Heat and the Hornets in the 90s and 2000s, but mid-post area, able to get to any shot, use his frame in a way that was physical, but he had a nice jumper that extended out to 3, even though he kind of operated more in the mid-range. Very good scorer. Like you said, talented wing scorer. And I definitely that's, again, it's for needing this a fit. I hadn't seen that high, but it's really cool to see again, Bryce kind of describe his namesake in a way that, like, okay, this makes sense on a team in terms of what he brings to the table. And very talented wing scorer. I watched his last game this past week, and I was like, okay, hold up. But guess that's me. That's next, and it's for San Antonio. And I'm just gonna go with my guy. I'm gonna take Cam Whitmore with my pick. I think just watching a lot of Spurs basketball. Keldon Johnson, even though he can play the four as undersized, I think is better served as three, with Devin Vassell being able to play the shooting guard, kind of swing him in position, especially with the way he's evolved on the offensive end of the floor. So I think it really just puts Keldon in his natural position, while you also bring a guy who brings more size and can play the same type of inside-out type of play as Johnson. And with that, you have 3 out of your 5 spots secure between Vassell, Johnson, and Whitmore there, depending on how you feel about Trey Jones and whatever happens at the center spot. But at 6'7", 225, he just plays with this great power and this force. He's really good in transition, kind of iffy three-point shooter. I'm sure some of that was due to this thumb injury that he's kind of been battling or recovering from, but he definitely can stand to improve there, but can knock down the shot as well. And I just love the way he plays, the physicality he brings to the table, and I think he can kind of swing both forward spots, but primarily at the 4, even maybe a small ball 5 in the future. You know, he just has that kind of frame, in my opinion. So I'm taking Cam going to San Antonio.
I really like that. I like Cam in San Antonio. I also like it because it leaves me with the guy who I wanted with my next pick. But just a really talented, physical player, outlier strong. I don't know if he's like full 6'7", if I had to guess, which is kind of tough, especially for someone who like entirely builds his living on around the rim. But someone like that, I think we've seen strength, like outlier level strength, translates at the NBA level. Like same to a degree with Sensabaugh, the pick before. Strong guys are going to play pretty well in the NBA. There's way less of an adjustment period. They're able to get on the floor faster and develop sooner. And, Whitmore next to Trey Jones and Devin Vassell and Keldon. I mean, that's a fun court.
Sohan. You forgot Sohan.
And Sohan, I forgot. Yes. I forgot point Sohan.
Actually,
My bad.
I have beef with Sohan. Early when his rookie, I guess they were doing like the rookie stuff for the team, and they did this like game where there was like word association, and so someone put up Russell Westbrook, and instead of saying triple double, Sohan said bricks. And at that moment, he lost me for life. So I intentionally left him off that list. If he's part of the future, if he's not part of the future, I don't really care. But you don't disrespect the king like that. Anyways,
to be fair, if somebody did word association with Jeremy Sohan and Baylor, the word also would have been bricks. So.
Well, there you go. Yeah, once he did that, he was lost. I was like, the casual disrespect. Like, okay. Anyway, not my living legend, Russell Westbrook. You don't. But moving right along, I think we're over with Stone.
Yeah,
I think it's.
I believe it's Coop.
Oh, I totally messed up.
I'm up with Orlando. Yeah,
oops, I was so busy on my moving on from Sohan, I didn't even.
my bad. But
no, that's on me.
as I referenced earlier, with the 6th pick, Orlando is sprinting to the podium. Very, very excited to add Ausar Thompson to the team. So I have, as of right now, very loosely, I have the Thompson twins and Scoot in kind of a weirdo, very movable tier of their own behind Wemby. And I think the Thompsons are very close, like no matter how you slice it. They're just so similar athletically, and like they're slightly better than each other at different things. But I mean, Ozar's arguably better than Amen. I just think Amen, earlier is a way better fit with what the Rockets want to do. But here, Orlando has their initiator. They have Paolo. You get Ausar, you get another massive athlete who can maybe shoot, can really defend, is a rim pressure demon, just high feel, mega athlete, just another super tall person for Orlando to run out of position. So very, very excited to come away with Ausar here.
Yeah, I think, again, this is another one where I think that's just the right pick. There's one other guy I sort of had my eye on that I think is maybe I would have higher on my board, but I do think specifically for Orlando, Osler was the better pick there. So yeah, I think that's just a great pick. He just does it all, increase that defense. The Magic are going to be a problem for a long time.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter really who you pick for Orlando. It's going to be a logjam in some way, but just accumulating talent, I think, is the main goal for them, and they have plenty of it. It just has to mature a little bit.
So I have a question about that, only because, I mean, the one knock on both Amen and Osir has been their shooting, right? Going into Orlando, a team that's kind of had a collective, let's just say, iffiness on shooting. How does that fit? I mean, I guess I like the fit from a playmaking perspective, but now he joins another line of guards who I think he stands head and shoulders above in the playmaking department. But like, that's the one thing I would imagine that Markelle Fultz and Jalen Suggs kind of specialize in, because shooting is not what they have unless it's like mid-range and out. And then once you look at like, Bol and Wendell Carter Jr., your best shooter is probably Paolo, aside from like, I guess, Gary Harris and, I think I'm missing some Cole Anthony and
Terrence Ross.
But all those guys are probably going. I imagine if the Magic are thinking right, they won't be here post trade deadline. So I guess I'm curious as to how it fits from a roster construction move. Then are you looking to free agency for shooters around them? Because I feel like you have a lot of talented guys who kind of need the ball and don't really space the floor. From just my own layman's view on that.
I think Ozar is a better shooter than he gets credit for. He's definitely the better of the two brothers. I think he's shooting like 36% from three currently on the season, which isn't crazy. But also, when you have Franz Wagner and Paolo and Wendell and all these guys who can just move and make fast decisions, I think the lack of like traditional shooting is slightly mitigated. I think you still obviously need shooting. And, if you have, 4 mega athletes, two-way players and like fast passers, you can actually play Cole Anthony without giving up more points on the defensive end than you get back on the offensive end, something like that. And what's cool about Orlando is that they just have like so many random players. If you really need more shooting, then just keep Terrence Ross. You're not going to get more than like 2 seconds for him, right? Or keep Gary Harris. I don't even know if he's shooting it well this year, but in theory, he's a shooter. Yeah. But like, maybe just like you can always find a good shooter off the G League bin if you really, really need one. Like Tevin Brown is down there in the G League and could be doing something for an NBA team right now. You could get Cougs legend Armani Brooks if you really need a sharpshooter. It's just real elite shooting is decently replaceable, and I think Orlando has enough bets at shooting in the long term that they don't need to be like, we need shooting now.
I get you for sure. Thank you for that. Yeah, 'cause I was like, I like it, but maybe I'm just looking at it from a 2K perspective. But with that being said, I think Stone now is up next with Washington. Interesting picks here.
Yeah, I'm just going for me best player available because Washington seems to struggle with that over the last few years. Even though I like Johnny Davis, I think long term he's going to be pretty good and pan out for them. But their previous picks before that just haven't really done that yet. They have a lot of like rotational guys, but none of them really are like solidified as the guy, I guess you can say, outside of Beal and Porzingis and Kuzma has come along. So I'm going to go with that. The Cooper called it. I'm going to go with Khalil Ware here. I think that he is the guy really easily for me at number 7. I probably would have taken him higher even if I had a pick higher. I think that he's easily for me the best center available or big available after Victor. He is an awesome rim protector in his own right, and I think also can be a fairly good 3-point shooter in the future. Even if the short range indicators aren't there, there's a lot of things that make me believe mid range and outside shooting will be. And he's just someone that has a lot of facets to his game that would take me all night to describe. But for me, he's definitely the number 7 pick here for the Wizards.
Yeah, that's another it's a great pick. Ware is really, really good, and there's not really many knocks against him. I think the one thing you could say is maybe, they have Porzingis, they have Gafford, but they're the Wizards. It really shouldn't matter that much. I think Ware can play the 4 or the 5 the next level. His shooting is legit. He makes good reads. Really excellent defensive prospect. Just another guy who, honestly, I feel like maybe slid too far. But that's just sort of how the draft shakes out sometimes. All right, I'm up with the Toronto Raptors at 8, and I'm at a real interesting point because I have one guy left in a tier, and I have a rule where I don't like to break tiers. I don't really like his fit with this team, like much at all, and I worry it's going to be bad for his development. But I'm going to take Anthony Black here from Arkansas. I am really in on Ant Black. I think he's a lot better than he gets credit for. I think the biggest issue is just that he plays on a team with no shooters, which might still be a problem if he goes to the Toronto Raptors, if we're being honest. But he is he's an actual point guard at 6'6". He's a good athlete, one of the best passers in this class. I think the shot will come around long term. He's not as confident as you'd like him to be in it, but he's just a guy. He does everything you want. He's a wing-sized point guard. Those guys are almost always worthy of top 10 consideration for me.
Yeah, as much as it's going to be weird watching him play with, 2 other shooters on the floor at one time, he fits the massive Toronto player mold, I guess. Really great defender. I think he's kind of maybe not slept on is the right word, but it's not regarded enough how good he is defensively, on ball, off ball, just makes the right read all the time, and can kind of play like as a point guard, can scale back a little bit. I don't think he's like a crazy super connector, but he can do that because he's such a fast processor of the game. And as much as it's like not a perfect fit, I don't think there's a single team on the league Ant Black doesn't fit on in some degree if he's able to shoot it.
I definitely like that pick for sure. Yeah, it's a solid one. Toronto getting some help there as well in the guard spot with someone who, like you said, will fit in any team to provide some extra value there. I think it's really nice. So definitely with that one. Guess this goes to me with Atlanta, where I was going. It's interesting. I am going to roll with Brandon Miller. Take Brandon Miller with my pick. 6'9" out of Alabama? Yeah, I think 6'9". Yeah, but give or take. I feel like 6'8", 6'9". Point is, forward. A position need for Atlanta, in my opinion. Someone who can shoot the 3. I think he's shooting 43%. I checked earlier. Yeah, 43% as of now from 3. Kind of consistent from there. I think he has some good size and versatility as well. I just think he has a good all-around game. Some flashes of some passing and some defense. Maybe not the best burst, but you're playing off of Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. So I think honestly just sitting in the corner shooting corner threes, they need someone to do that. And if you have some size, you can, have some versatility in the defensive end, that's great. And I feel like Miller's already doing it for Alabama. That's just a plug-and-play type of role in the position that Atlanta needs. So I'm going to go with Miller there.
Yeah, I really like this fit, to be honest. I think that even if collectively we're not the highest, if you listen to the last episode we did on Brandon, I do think that this fit really makes a lot of sense with Atlanta, especially you have multiple guys now that can sort of fill that vague 3-and-D type role. But they took AJ Griffin. He's probably going to end up being the best, I would say, in filling it. But, you also have DeAndre Hunter. Now you have Brandon. I think that it really gives them just like a plethora of guys to sort of fill in different spots around your 2 guards. Also, just gives them depth if they really are looking to move on from John Collins. So I think this makes a lot of sense in multiple different ways. So good pick.
Yeah, if nobody else has anything to say, I will take the 10th pick here for the Utah Jazz. I'm under a lot of pressure right now because I know Bryce really wants me to get this right. I know how much he loves his Jazzmen. And this is kind of tough because the Jazz could go in literally any direction. Like their single core building block is Lauri Markkanen. I would argue, maybe you really love Colin Sexton. Maybe you really like Walker Kessler for some reason. Sorry, I almost threw up there thinking about him. But it's tough. You can go in any direction. But for the Jazz here at 10, we are going to select Maxwell Lewis out of Pepperdine, 6'7" combo wing guardy type. Can play on or off the ball, can shoot, can make some cool pick and roll reads. Just somebody who can give us more of an identity. Somebody who I'm not worried about busting out in a sense. I think he can play. He can come into this team. He can find a role, even if we keep all the vets for some weird reason. We keep Malik Beasley and Mike Conley and all these guys. I think he'll have a role. He's 6'7", he can shoot, he's smart, he can pass. Can't go wrong with that kind of guy, even in the top 10.
You left us speechless.
I don't have a ton to say.
You're welcome.
That was
I'm sorry.
I don't know. Get wings. I definitely agree that the Jazz only building block is Lowry. So we're on the same page there.
There it is. Listen, I was looking at the experts on that. I'm like, Maxwell Lewis, interesting. Let's get some more. That was good, though. That was good. Okay, I like it. Also, Colin Sexton would like a word, Bryce, but anyway.
I'll say, okay. I've been on the Max Lewis hype train for a while. I do like him a lot. I just think there were maybe a couple other places I would have went, specifically trying to get a little younger, but I do like that pick.
I know in your heart you wanted Jarris, so I'm sorry I didn't do that to you.
So I think I'm up with Orlando here at pick 11. Was originally the Bulls, and now it's going to Orlando. Man, Orlando's going to be so much fun after this year's draft. Cooper left me in a really tough position. I was hoping he would take one of the two guys I had in mind, but he didn't. He took obviously Asar earlier, and they also have Markelle, Cole Anthony, and Suggs, all four guys I really, really like. So it's really tough for me to go with the guard I had in mind here because he's just not going to get any playing time. So I'm going to go with someone that was definitely probably of more use to them right now. I'm going to go with Grady Dick, who I think solves a lot of their shooting issues single-handedly. Really just awesome shooter, and he's more than that, which is the problem with a lot of usually these shooters that are specialists or labeled as specialists. I think he does more on the ball than most guys, able to create more of his own shot through different actions and just off ball awareness on where to be and get himself in open spaces. So I'm going to take him here. There's another guy who's higher on my board, but just does not make sense with the plethora of guards they have. So Grady Dick is the pick here.
All right. I think that's a great pick. That's what I was going to pick. So you left me in a tough spot. Dick is just really good. The defense worries me a lot. I worry that it's gonna bother. Once you're trying to get to that next level, it's going to be a problem. But take the talent that's there, and he's really good at basketball. So where I'm going next is another, I just think, slightly out of left field pick, which will basically be 3 for me, I think. I'm up with the Pelicans. And I have this thing with the Pelicans where my favorite player on the Pelicans is Larry Nance Jr. I think he's arguably their most important role player. As much as I love Herb Jones and I love Trey Murphy III, I would argue Larry Nance is their most important role player because he is their closing 5 right now. especially when Zion plays. The issue is Larry Nance Jr. does not have a great track record of health. He's probably getting close to, if not already, 30. And there's someone who I think could maybe step up into his role really nicely as a nominal 4, but backup finishing 5. And that is a different AAC player than the one Coop thinks I'm going to take. And that's Taylor Hendricks from UCF. Taylor Hendricks is a 6'9", sort of rim protecting forward who can switch onto the perimeter, but can really stretch the floor, has flashed some playmaking. I just really, really love Hendricks. I think he's kind of getting underrated in this draft. You know, I love a guy like Therese. I love some other guys. But I just think Hendricks is, of that group of 4s who you think could potentially finish with the 5, of who there are probably about 4 in this class that I'm looking at on my board right now. Hendricks is the safest because he's the one whose jumper I trust the most. Is much as I hate to simplify it to that, that's where I come down on it. If you're a team like the Pelicans who are already ready to compete, getting a guy like Hendricks who I think can, you know, probably his rookie season, you know, sit behind Nance, but eventually early in his career step into a big role. I think that's my target at 12.
The Bryce and Hendricks agendas really, really thriving today. This is we can it's just taking anyone who shares a name with him. This is getting see-through. We just talked about Hendricks on the pod. He is awesome. As much as I'm like kind of irritated that Bryce didn't take, you know, the better player here, but I understand the reasoning. You know, Taylor Hendricks is incredible. He's exactly what you want your NBA 4/5 to be. You know, he's shooty, he's smart, he's really mobile, he's athletic. There's just not really holes in his game. You know, I think people kind of put him down because he's kind of a dependent player, but that's not necessarily a bad thing when you're the Pelicans, who have entirely creators. You know, you have, you know, Ingram, Zion, CJ, all these guys who can do their own stuff. You know, you need somebody to be an outlet who can defend 5s, who can defend 4s, who can maybe defend 3s because he's that versatile. Can't really go wrong with Taylor Hendricks.
Definitely like it. Glad I learned a little bit more about Mr. Hendricks. Aside from the guy on the pod, because I was not aware as much of his game. So I feel like Shaq, I wasn't really familiar with your game, but now I feel better about it. So thank y'all for that. Portland, this is tough because it forces me to put my own personal favorites aside because the person I want to pick next, the Blazers don't necessarily need. So looking at position of need, I'm thinking maybe more forward, looking at Jeremy Grant's status, whether they're going to bring him, whether he's going to stick around long term or not. And this guy is young, and I'm reaching here. I don't actually think I'm reaching. I like him. He's okay. He's just not my guy, but I'm going to go with a guy out of South Carolina, and that is G.G. Jackson. Just think he's versatile, athletic. He can shoot the 3 and also kind of gets to the rim a little bit. Not the best offensive creator or passer, but that's fine because you have Dame and also Anthony Simons who will do a lot of that. Also, Shaedon Sharp has been great off the bench for Portland. Like, you have a lot of on-ball creators that, you know, you can kind of fit the Al Farouk special, the Al Farouk Memorial forward for Portland, where, you know, you just kind of shoot some 3s, make some good defensive plays, finish in transition. And he's like one of the youngest guys in the draft. So untapped potential there for sure. And I like it. So I'm going to go with G.G. Jackson there.
Just not to be, you know, too dismissive, but I think a stark difference between G.G. Jackson and Al-Farouq Aminu is one of those guys was good at defense and the other isn't. So I think that's going to be a bit of a. I'm not huge on GG, and I'll just leave it there.
You know, it's funny. In my notes, I put nothing on his defensive information because I couldn't find anything that I saw that I liked. So that explains it. You're right. I should have probably said. Actually, there isn't a forward in Portland that Evan Turner even played a little bit of defense. You're right. Let's just scrap the Alfred Memorial thing. He's just a forward that's young. Thank you. Yeah. I'm like, actually, yep, nope.
It's the Nasir Little Memorial.
There we go.
Pick. So there. I think he fits that. Even though I think Nas is still there, but I don't know. I don't know Portland's roster. Okay. So I think I'm back up with Utah here. This is awful. Utah is such a mess. Like, I feel really bad. They've been so much fun to watch. I have loved their season. Lauri Markkanen is incredible. I I just, Bryce is going to scream at me if I don't pick whoever he's telepathically sending me to pick. What is he? He wants Jarris Walker. Yeah. So I think I might just bow to public pressure and take Jarris because he's next on my board, and I love him. I love Jarris Walker. Jarris Walker is 6'8", 6'9", incredibly, just incredibly strong, athletic, incredible touch. A really weird passer, makes really fast decisions. They aren't always the best decisions right now, but he's still figuring that out. I heard him described today as a linebacker with ballerina feet, and that's a good way to put it. His footwork is really impressive. He settles for his floater too much, but he's been able to shoot the three pretty well despite his form sucking, and that's entirely because of his touch. I think there's a real floor there as a connective big who can make passes in the short roll, can defend at a solid level, can defend on the perimeter. His man defense has gotten a lot better as the year's gone on. Solid team defender. But he's also got star upside because he can hit tough shots. He can hit tough fades. He can demand some usage there. And I think he's, putting him and Maxwell Lewis, you have two giant, mega creator-ish guys who can play together, play off of each other, and fit with any lineup, basically.
Yeah, I think you just upgraded your center position from Walker Kessler and your small forward position from Ochai Agbaji in one draft. So congrats on that.
Jarris is someone who needs a very specific team context because he's not probably a top 5 pick, but he almost needs to be treated like one. I feel like he needs to be drafted to a place where he can develop as a on and off ball scorer with some usage and some latitude, but not like they're trying to make him a point guard. You know what I mean? Like, it's sort of weird. And I think Utah's the perfect place for that. Lauri Markkanen is one of the best off ball scorers in the NBA right now. Earlier in the draft, they made a great pick with Max Lewis. So you get another guy who can shoot and pass and kind of create for himself, but isn't like a true self-creator. So you get, Jarris in there to kind of mix it up and do a lot of things, play a lot of positions. They could play big, they could play small. I really like this pick and what Jarris could help this team accomplish.
So I think I'm up with Phoenix, which Cooper actually solved my issue, unlike last time where I had two guys and he took one of them. So this makes it easy for me. I'm going to go with Nick Smith here for Phoenix. I think that he's a good sort of, guy to have CP3 mentors as he sort of ages out. And Nick Smith, I think, is at least on my board, the best guard available. I think, I was really kind of hoping for someone to fill in as a versatile 4 like Jarris Walker, but I don't think that guy is really around in this range. So I'm going to go with Nick Smith here. And I think he works both on and off ball really well. So whether it's with CP3 or with Devin Booker, I think it sort of allows them to do multiple lineups. And as I said, as CP3 ages out, I think Nick Smith can sort of help fill that void.
Yeah, Phoenix desperately needs more ball handling. And Nick Smith, I think, can do just enough passing. And him and Devin Booker together, I think, are the definition of just enough passing to not be like just one-dimensional off guards. He's tall, like he's decent. He's like 6'3", 6'4". He's not tiny. Hopefully he can, get physically healthy and get back into, actually playing a ton this season and being able to show the world what he can do because he's really talented and a really good fit here in Phoenix.
That's a nice segue to, I have at 16, I have the Golden State Warriors. And I'm also going to take someone who highly touted freshman who has kind of struggled with injuries so far. And I honestly think it was maybe slipped a little bit, partially on my own doing, of course, but that's Dariq Whitehead. Whitehead is, He's just good. Like, I don't know. Like, I still buy the shot. I think the shot's there. The help defense is good. He's not like a superstar prospect, really, right? Like, that's not who he is. But he just does everything well. And there is some upside there with him as someone who can create his own shot off the bounce. He's a good passer. Love his help defense. I wish he was a little taller. He's probably like 6'5". I wish he was like 6'7". But at a certain point, you just take talent. And if you're the Warriors, you know, you add him to that group of Moses Moody and Kuminga, you have some really fun wings there. So I don't know. I'm
Guy Santos erasure?
And Guy Santos, sure. So I think that's a very, very fun, pretty easy pick for me here at 16, honestly.
I'm beside myself. I'm shell-shocked with flashbacks of previous drafts of Bryce taking the guy right ahead of me that I wanted. Because I really saw a perfect fit with Derek with the Clippers. I was going to be triumphant and really feel good about myself. But now, alas, we're back to being Corban. With the Clippers, I mean, you know what? Darn it, I'm just going to pick my guy. That's what I do. I'll stick to my guns. We're going to go to Keontae George. I wanted him before. I'm very high on Keontae George and Derek Whitehead. I had them in my own personal mock draft like 4 and 5. So yeah, but I have a type. So I had to try to balance that with, you know, what they actually bring to the table. With Keontae George, I just feel like you get a guy who I think can be a prolific scorer. Definitely showed some increased playmaking chops. I like what he can kind of bring on the defensive end. I just think he has potential as a combo guard. I would like Derek a little bit better as a point guard, kind of playing off of Paul George and Kawhi in a way. Creating some shots. I think Keontae's definitely more like the shooting guard aspect of it, in my opinion. But nice fit. I think the Clippers are pretty loaded at their forward spots, and I think that they're okay at center. So just looking for upgrade at guard because the John Wall, Reggie Jackson, two-headed monster is more like a two-headed poodle right now, in my opinion. So, yeah, going to go with Keontae George and not feel bad about it.
John Wall slander not tolerated.
Sorry.
He is. You know, you love Russell Westbrook. I love John Wall.
Oh, okay.
Not to the same level. I'm not hating Jeremy Sohan because he mildly disrespected my player. But you know, Keontae George, I think he can really shoot the ball. And putting that, like we've seen Luke Kennard, who has like maybe one other NBA skill. Other than shooting on a good day. Yeah. He has, you know, he made good money. He's not thrived, but he has a role on the Clippers, and Keontae can bare minimum do that. You know, there's defensive potential, decent size, not sure about the ball handling, but he won't have to do much of that here, you know, on the Clippers. Can mainly just play off ball and do his thing. So can't really, complain too much there. I think I'm up. If nobody else has anything to say, I have Miami. And this is really tough. This actually, every single pick has been tough since I picked Ozar Thompson, honestly. But there are two guys here who I'm kind of debating between. And I think I'm just going to go with the safer of the two, who I think could really come in and fit the Miami culture. I think he's a little lower on my board, but, you know, Miami needs more guys who got that dog in them. So here at the 18th pick in the NBA draft, Miami's going to be selecting Kassan Wallace out of Kentucky. Can come in, fill the point guard spot once Kyle Lowry's gone, can learn from the best to ever do it, the thickest to ever do it, and really develop into that kind of on-off ball guard that they really need. You know, just I think is really safe to just do really good stuff at the NBA level. He can shoot, he can defend, he can pass, he can do everything you need a guard to do. He's not tiny. He's like 6'3", but he's strong enough to guard up a little bit. And I absolutely love Kassan. And here is Miami. I'm very happy we came out of this draft with him.
Yeah, I think this is a good pick. I think it's an upgrade from the pick they wasted on Davion Mitchell at number 9 a couple years ago.
This is Miami.
Why am I mixing?
You have Sacramento.
I'm
looking at the wrong name, buddy.
I'm looking at the wrong.
It's an upgrade from Precious
Wow.
Achiuwa pick that they made a few years ago in nearly the exact same spot. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks for summing it up. I'm embarrassed. All right,
They did pass on another Kentucky guard to make that Precious Achiuwa pick too. Don't forget, They could have had.
They could have had
Tyrese
Maxey. Yeah. Oh, that's awful.
Wow.
Imagine they wouldn't have even needed to trade it for Kyle Lowry if they just had Tyrese Maxey. But
Maxey and Hero on the same team would be pretty entertaining to watch for sure.
Yikes defensively. No, I'm playing. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, man, this is tough with Sacramento. Do I go with who I want or who they need? That's the question. I'm gonna reach a little bit because it is Sacramento and I think they need more wings. I'm gonna go with Jordan Walsh here. And that's probably a reach for some people, but I think that Jordan Walsh is actually a really good basketball player. I think he does a lot in a lot of different areas, really good defensively. He has to work more on extending his range as a shooter, but I think that Sacramento has the pieces there to be okay with that for a little bit and sort of let him develop that. And I think that he just gives them somebody that they really need on the wings. So I'm going to go with Jordan Walsh here. And it might be a reach, but I don't really care.
That's a great pick. Jordan Walsh is a stud. He's just really good at basketball. He's the type of guy who I just trust to find a spot. He was on my list here. I didn't love him. I have the Knicks at 20. I think what the Knicks are really missing is just a nice, really cold white boy. I think they just need a cold white boy.
I already took Grady Dick.
Is that Isaiah?
I'm taking
no.
I'm taking Brandon Podziemski. Clara. If this was last year's draft, I think Podziemski would have been a lottery pick because he's basically just doing exactly what Jalen Williams did last year at Santa Clara. He's not as good a prospect as Williams because he's not that type of passer. He's not that type of athlete, but the jump shot's real. I think he can make plays for others. He just, honestly, I watch him and I'm like, this is a dude who I think is either like a sixth man or a starting shooting guard in the NBA. That you take that with the 20th pick, absolutely. The Knicks just desperately need someone who can get some buckets, who's going to make smart plays, who works his tail off. Brandon Podziemski is 6'5", playing shooting guard and averaging 9 rebounds a game right now. I believe
almost half of his games have been double-doubles now.
Yeah, he's having a really, really underrated season, and he's just a stud. He's a stud. I'll take him at 20 all day. Corban, I think you're up next.
I gotta say, this is why I love having y'all on, because I heard Brandon Podziemski and I went, did my mic go off? Did I not hear it? And then I'm like, let me just look at this mock draft I was looking at. I had 2 pulled up and I'm like, no, I don't see him. I had to Google the guy. It's my first time learning about him. So thank y'all for that. Deep take. Love the Upside Swings guys. Cause cold white boy. Now I know that. That's word association. Cold white boy, Brandon Podziemski. I love it. All right. So with that, back to me, and we are with Indiana, and Indiana's been pretty good. I like them. They're pretty solid. I feel like they're good at guard. I mean, ideally, you have Tyrese Halliburton, and then I like Benedict Mathurin at 2, depending on whatever happens to Buddy Hield. So I'm going to look more at forward, and I'm looking at, forget it. We move. I'm going to take Jet Howard. I like Jet Howard. Got some size. Solid 3-and-D combo wing type player, and I think that works perfectly for Indiana. I think that Coach Rick Carlisle is going to put him to good use. And I'm sorry, Cooper. But yeah, I just that's who I'm going to take. I think he's a good fit, and yeah, I think he can even navigate some pick and roll with his size and length on the defensive end of the floor. And yeah, kind of enamored with the guy, so I'm going to go with him.
This is the worst day of my life. I finally know how Corban feels every single time we do one of these.
Yes,
I love Jet. Jet was who I was considering taking from Miami there at 18 instead of Kassan, but Kassan just fit their MO a little better. I have Jet probably top 8 or 9 right now. He's ridiculous. He just does everything you like. We talked about this a little bit with Hendricks, but he does everything you want an NBA forward to do. He's kind of a 2-3-4, even though he's 6'7", 6'8". He can dribble a little bit. he can like scale back into like an off-ball roll and just shoot it and like do a little bit of movement stuff. He has like star potential because he can pass a little bit and make smart decisions, and has like crazy off the dribble shooting potential. I was really hoping to take him here, and I thought Corban would pick another guard. So I'm kind of stuck here because New York feels kind of trapped. Like, what do they have, but also what do they not have? They just grabbed Podziemski, Cold White Boy of the Year, and now they have another pick. So I am going to get just a little bit – I'm going to get a little bit funky with it, and I am going to take Will Richard out of Florida. Just somebody who I think can come in and play, can shoot, can defend, has good size, is smart, can play. Like, just more good connecting wings in New York is a good thing. When they finally ever decide to get rid of Randall and build a good team that they, have actually designed around Quentin Grimes and whatever star they can get. And, you can always use a guy like Will Richard. There's not a team on planet Earth that doesn't want a guy like Will Richard. And here at 22, we already got Podziemski, we got Richard. We're just building a 6'5", incredible wing platoon that can play against anybody. So we're happy to come away, but we would have been happier with Jet Howard.
Yeah, I think this is a good pick, to be honest. They have so many guys that are just his size that I don't know how much playing time there is to go around, but it's going to be a logjam everywhere. They're sort of one of those teams that have a lot of guys in a lot of places, but none of them really are studs or stars, I guess, superstars. So I don't know. I like the pick, but yeah, it's just wherever you pick, I guess it's a logjam. I think I have the 23rd pick. Is that not me? The Lakers, I actually just realized. So I'm excited. We're gonna take somebody that I think should be lottery. I'm gonna go with Terquavion Smith here. I think that he makes a lot of sense for the Lakers. He fits a need and is like at far and away the highest guy on my board left. He is just an awesome shooter, super electric scorer, someone that just takes all sorts of crazy shots and makes a lot of them. He's gotten better since last year, which you always want to see improvement, and he has done that. Some people thought it was sort of risky that he pulled out of last year's class and came back, and it looks like it's paying off for him. I think that it just makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. They need more ball handling. They need more scoring. They need more shooting. Really, they need everything. But I think Terquavion fills at least those three avenues. And yeah, I'm really stoked about this pick.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right pick. There's one other guy who you mentioned he's far away the highest on your board. There's one other guy who I have high right now, but we are getting to a point where it's hard to pick him because we're good teams now. We're mostly picking with good teams.
I will say that, sorry, real quick, that it's really crazy to me that, like, for me, Terquavion is still like I'm really confident he's going to be a rotation guy, and I have him at number 23. Like, there's not very many drafts you can say that where, like, at 23 you're really confident that someone's going to be a rotational player. And to me, that just speaks volumes to how deep and how much quality there is in this class.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really incredible draft class, top to bottom. But yeah, like we're getting to a point where it's
real quick. Why would you take Turk Smith when you have Max Christie on the roster? That just seems like you're really.
Oh my god!
He interrupted me for a bad joke.
You're off the pod.
Oh
I know. You cut
Corban's
off
replacing you.
All right. Oh my god. As I was saying, we're to a point where it's hard to take the person who's at the top of my board because we're drafting with good teams, and this person really has like no place on a good team right now. So it's kind of the Gerace issue, but he's less highly touted than Gerace. So I'm up with the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm gonna take. I don't know if this is gonna surprise you guys. I'm gonna take Ife Abugadi from the G League Ignite, formerly of Washington State University. I think he's just good. Like I think the jumper's close to there. His defense has always been elite. Like he's just a really great rim protector who can also slide his feet on the perimeter. He's only like 6'9" to play center, but honestly, if you're Brooklyn, you kind of like that. They like their undersized bigs. He kind of makes sense as a Nick Claxton insurance or potential replacement. If they eventually want to move on from Ben Simmons, maybe you can play those two together if FA can get the shot really there. I just think he's a guy who he's not even the top guy on my board from the G League Ignite left, but he is the guy who makes the most sense with the Brooklyn Nets. And I think the Nets are one of the few teams at a point where I will draft outside of tiers because they are so all in on winning a championship right now. I think FA can come in and help as a rookie. He's going to be 21 or 22 as a rookie, and he's played against pros, so that'll really lend itself to performance early in his career.
I like it. So I think this is one of my last picks. I might trade. Well, I might keep that pick, actually. I do have a player on the board. If my player gets selected in between now and my next pick, then I'm going to bequeath my pick. But instead of going into the Ryan Kelly Memorial pick, I am going to select someone different. I'll save the Ryan Kelly one for my last pick. For Cleveland, this is actually going to Indiana. Oh, I forgot. It's going to Indiana, so maybe I could do it. Yeah, actually, we're going to do it. All right, my Ryan Kelly Memorial pick, we are going to go with Kyle Filipowski from Duke. The dude seems simple to me. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but he's a big who can kind of shoot it. And the floor spacing is nice at a power forward kind of position. I don't know if he's going to be center, I guess, ideally, but he brings a stretch big skill set, and that's always great to have. And so, yeah, I'm going to go with him. I think lately he's been in a slump from what I remember looking at the numbers, but aside from that, he's good. I said the Ryan Kelly Memorial special because I thought he was going to be like this flamethrower from three, and he really flamed out and was not. And I'm kind of iffy on Filipowski because he's been like so bad lately I've seen that I'm like, okay, is it just a slump or is he just kind of like still a stretch big and name only we're working out to that? I don't know. I'm iffy on it, but I do think that floor spacing is valuable, and why not? Let's go with it.
Yeah, and the Pacers have just like a ton of bigs that are just giant question marks right now. Like we don't know how long Miles Turner's staying there. Jalen Smith has not really panned out, I think, to what people may have hoped for. Isaiah Jackson has been great defensively, hasn't really progressed offensively much. So, and Goga, who I was really high on in his class, has just not gotten the opportunity, maybe he's just not good. So there's just a lot of I think workability there to bring in someone that can solidify them as a center for at least a little bit. And there's room for that. So I think Filipowski makes sense in that regard.
What I will say is there was I don't trust Kyle Filipowski in an up-tempo offense like the Pacers have been, and they will continue to be under Tyrese Haliburton. And there was one big who was on the board who I alluded to with the last pick, and so I'm a little disappointed in you, Corban. I'll be honest, just slightly, so slightly.
It's okay, Filipowski. He has funky movement skills, but it all worked out for me. This all worked out for me in the end because it
just like you planned.
Just this, all of my head games, getting Corban to pick Jet Howard, making him think I'm upset. I'm back up with the Rockets.
Wow.
Okay. There's and I have two options. And I'm gonna get funky here. With the 26th pick from the Bucks, the Houston Rockets are gonna select Trevon Brazile out of the University of Arkansas. Someone who pre-injury I would have had as a top 10 pick. I would still probably take him there if I had the opportunity and the medicals were good and all that. The Rockets need defense. There are a few other defenders who I would like. Brazile is an incredible interior scorer who also has potential wing skills. He can really defend. He is really smart, fun movement skills. solid size. Just it can actually be a lob threat. Very important stuff, and can kind of play the 4. And that's someone who can play next to Şengün, can play instead of Şengün, can play with just the guards, can play with the defensive lineups. It's just what we need. And so the Houston Rockets mega plan of coming out of this with more athletes that are good at basketball, we've done it. We have accomplished it. So I'm very, very happy.
I'm just sad I disappointed Bryce. Like, this hurts.
I'm just shook. I really thought Coop was going to take who I was disappointed at you for not taking, Corban. But honestly, I don't hate the Brazil pick. So I guess it even.
I was thinking about it, but he said I want to leave him for you, Bryce. I
actually don't know who you're talking about.
I'm excited to hear who this is.
Yeah,
is Bryce even going to take him? I don't even know if
out.
he's makes sense for the team. Bryce.
He's playing mind games with us.
Bryce is messing with. He's going to go with the
Yeah, he's gonna end up. It's Oscar Shibwe. That's who he's thinking about.
No, it's our favorite unscalable big. It's Hunter Dickinson.
Oh
Come
my
on
gosh,
now. We love Hunter Dickinson.
No, Stone, go. I have to see, Corban, this is what I have to do all the time. I have to tell Coop that he's gone far enough, and then it's time to move on.
He loves Hunter Dickinson.
I'm done with
all
y'all.
right.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to try and bring it in here.
I understand if we're never invited back, but sorry.
Never. It's awesome.
Man.
Oh,
all right. So I have Charlotte. Obviously, I took Scoot earlier. So you have LaMelo, Scoot. Those are really your building blocks of the future. So I can't take the guard I really want to, but that's okay. I'm going to go with someone that I think sort of fills a role and is pretty much he's in the same tier, I guess, the highest tier I have left. So I don't feel bad about taking him. I'm going to go with Dylan Mitchell here for Charlotte. I think that he makes sense on both ends. Somebody that I think can be a good cutter and finisher for them, especially with LaMelo and Scoot, both as the initiators. They'll be able to find him a lot. I think he has some defensive upside as at least like a help side rim protector, which they don't have primary or help side at the moment. So he gives them something. But he's sort of just, I guess, the best of the remaining for me. I would have liked to have maybe taken Leonard Miller here, but I just do not trust Charlotte at all to develop him in any sort of way. So I'm gonna stick with Dylan Mitchell.
I turn Dylan Mitchell into anything other than just a cutter.
I think Dylan Mitchell has a very simplistic game, and I think it's a lot harder to mess that up than
it's basically
Leonard Miller.
Get him to shoot. Like, please God, just get him to shoot. If he shoots, he's fine. If he doesn't shoot, then he won't last in the league. But all right, at 28, I'm with the Memphis Grizzlies. So as I'm sure it's been as Stone just mentioned, Leonard Miller was the guy I was talking about that I wanted Corban to take, that I thought Coop would take. There were still 2 more chances to take him after this. I will not be taking him because I don't think the Grizzlies need that. I think what the Grizzlies could
There's
really
one team
use,
that can develop him. It's Memphis, though.
There is, but they also have Jake LaRavia and David Roddy, 2 guys I like. They have Vince Williams as a forward. That's not to say they couldn't use him. Yeah, Zaire Williams is more of a wing. Now, Miller could potentially maybe be more of a 5, but I'm not really interested in that. There is someone on my board, though, who really catches my eye as a fit here. And he was, for a while, my preseason frontrunner for National Player of the Year, and that's Marcus Sasser. I really like Sasser. I've had him as a first-round pick.
That's the wrong Houston guy.
I've had him as a first-round pick for going on 2 years now, and I'm still just there with that. I just think he's a first-round pick. I think he can shoot. I think he can play make. I think he does it all. He's a backup guard probably, so it's is that bad value at 28? Maybe. There's a couple other guys on this board who I could have taken swings with, but honestly, right now, I think the Grizzlies are almost short a rotation player with how much a lot of their players are getting injured. I think Sasser's someone you can just grab and go. He's just someone who's going to be able to play immediately. He's just a guy. He plays well, and he fits with basically every team as a point guard or an undersized shooting guard. So yeah, Marcus Sasser's my guy here at 28.
I like it.
Could have had Tremont Mark. Tremont Mark is a little bit better, but I understand because Tremont is a little bit weirder, and they have I think 40 3-and-D wings is the proper number of 3-and-D wings they have over in Memphis. But Marcus Sasser, they don't really have just a microwave shooter that they could plug in next to Ja if need be, or off the bench to run a little bit of offense or do whatever. I think Sasser, you can't go wrong with Sasser, but I think you could maybe go slightly more right with Tremont, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So this is now back to me. This is Brooklyn?
Utah.
Utah. Oh, yeah, Brooklyn to Utah. Oh, I'm just going to go with my guy. So listen, Bryce, we're going to address Leonard Miller here first because I do like him. He is there, but there's one guy I've just been on. I don't. Maybe it's recency bias. No, it's most definitely recency bias. But I've seen him and I've liked him, and I don't know if he actually fits well with Utah. But right now they're a mess anyway, so why not? I like Ricky Council. And so I'm gonna go with Ricky. I feel like he doesn't shoot enough threes quite for my liking, and but I like the fact that he's like a scoring-minded guard. Like his handles are nice. He seems to get some creation ability. His athleticism, like he's like more of the Monte Ellis to my Michael Beasley of tier of players that I really enjoy. Leonard Miller's solid and is probably the reasonable, realistic pick here. But I'm Corban. We're just gonna go with that.
I am Corban. I like that. Yeah, I mean, I think it makes some sense. Ricky Council is, if there's like a context to make him work, I think it needs to be where you have a really proficient, like big shooter who happens to be Lauri Markkanen. So I think that it has the makings of the proper context if they continue to fill out the rest of the roster in the way that they would have to benefit and maximize Ricky Council to the best of his possibilities. But I think that he does give them like a bit of a scoring punch that they could use, even if it's not from outside yet. And who did he take earlier for them, Coop? Another wing?
For what team is this again?
Utah.
For Utah, we took Jarris and Maxwell Lewis.
Yeah. I think that having Maxwell Lewis there too just opens up things for him. So I think it makes sense.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks, Stone, for the reassurance.
Bryce is about to rip on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have much to say. He's a wing. If he shoots, he's the guy.
Somehow that hurts even more, Bryce. Sorry.
He's just.
He's not mad. He's disappointed.
I don't think he's a first round pick in this class. That's what I'll say. I just don't see that. But he is, at least like 6'6" and athletic. So there's that.
Thanks.
He's really good on offense. He just might never be anything close to like neutral on defense. So it's a tough proposition. But
you have Jarris Walker there now.
You have Jarris Walker, who's the best defender in the entire class, even better than Wemby and better than everybody else. So you're all set. I think I'm up at 30 here for Indiana. And Indiana has had like 3 picks. I don't remember who they are. I think there was a big in there.
Filipowski was in there.
Filipowski, and then who was the other? Whatever. It doesn't matter because there's a few. I want to name drop a few guys before I make my final selection. I was really looking at Terrence Arsenault because I'm a homer and I love him. I was kind of looking at Alex Fudge here because I have a type and I refuse to deviate from my type. And I was also looking at Matt Cleveland as just another fun wing athlete, and Tyrese Hunter, just because I think he's a really talented shooter and guard and deserves to be in the conversation here, even if he's not a great fit here for Indiana. But we are going to make the correct pick and take Leonard Miller here at 30. Who I'm not taking Julian Phillips. Dude, he has not even been good. Sorry, I can't say that. Leonard Miller at 30 has been legitimately productive in the G League, especially like with Scoot gone. He has been pretty good. We loved him last year. I had him like 16 or 17 last year. Fun creation, can play on or off ball, really athletic, could maybe be like a 3, 4, or 5, or even like an initiator of some kind. I love him. I'll probably have him lottery or just after the lottery this year, which is hard to say because I would say that about about 20 of the guys who have been picked today. I'm like, oh, I like this guy as a lottery pick, but I haven't made a board like fully, so it's kind of hard. But you can't go wrong with Leonard Miller. Potential, decent production as a rebounder, needs help on the defensive end, and that's why I didn't take him earlier. I really like Brazil as just like an actual 5. I think Leonard Miller has more upside, but the Rockets, as I talked about, don't need – like we already got Amen as the on- and off-ball creator, connector type. And Leonard kind of fills that, but has a lot of other weird passes, and we'd probably fuck him up. I don't know if I can say that. Sorry, Corban.
No, it's fine. It's all good here. I'm over here laughing that this part of the chat existed, so we're good.
But yeah, I love Leonard Miller, and Indiana is really happy to end up with Leonard Miller here with the last pick in the first round.
Ow.
Yeah, that's a good pick. That's
See,
this
Bryce
draft.
has some words for you, Cooper. There we go.
No,
All I want is your approval, Bryce. It's not that hard.
More just that this draft is so deep that there's quite a few guys who I think are legit first round type guys who did get drafted. A guy like Jalen Hood-Schifino has been really good for Indiana. Ryan Rupert. So I don't think we drafted any international player outside of Victor Wembanyama. Ryan Rupert is an international player. City Sissoko is like 50% international player. A guy like Dayron Holmes, Mike Miles fell out. Noah Clowney, who some people would take in the lottery. There's just a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys that are, and this, mock drafts like this are really going to show, who you're into, who who you like, and what type of players, pop for you.
Absolutely. I was going to say, were there any other honorable mentions that were on the list that or any surprises, let's say that, like, that we didn't grab or that you were expecting to kind of go higher maybe? Just want to kind of read the room there.
I think there's quite a few guys I thought would go higher, at least like relative to how they're being talked about. I thought Nick Smith would go higher. I think that he's talked about probably more as like a top 8 guy rather than outside the lottery. I think that Brandon Williams is talked about more as like more of a top 5 guy currently. So there's guys I think that dropped probably more than people may have expected. The couple of guys to me that stood out that didn't get picked, I thought Chris Murray, someone would have taken him. Jalen Wilson is, for me, I don't know really where people stand on Jalen Wilson, but for me, he's close to the first round. And yeah, I think Clowney got mentioned too, but I think he's talked about more as like a first rounder. So those are probably the main guys that I was surprised didn't get picked.
I know he's dealt with injuries, but it is interesting that Lively didn't like even get talked about despite being like number 1 in the recruiting class. I feel like
I wouldn't have drafted him. I wouldn't have drafted him in a preseason mock draft either, probably.
But I'm just saying, like, compared to like consensus coming into this year, it is like he was ranked number 1 and now was not even taken top 30. I don't even know if he was considered. Like I didn't consider him or have him anywhere near my top 30. And part of that's injury, part of that is lack of production even when healthy, and I don't know his exact situation. Duke is weird and bad this year, kind of, but Tariq is awesome. So
yeah, I definitely, as someone coming in as a newbie, I was impressed by the amount of people I wasn't familiar with that were drafted high. So it's just some further impetus for me to go back and do some real deep diving and check out the Upside Swings podcast some more for some of these takes. But no, this was fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm surprised that we kept it under an hour and a half. Like, we did a really good job with the full first round and somehow giving succinct analysis and still, having some interesting picks. Like, I love the way that you all look at the game, and it's not so much by consensus or just by like, oh, let me Google a draft and look it up. Like, it's your own picks and, ideas on team building and how it applies in terms of different archetypes and players. And it really makes for interesting conversation. And I definitely think it made for a great conversation and podcast here. So I want to thank y'all all for coming on and also give y'all the opportunity to plug your work collectively, individually, where we can find y'all. Cause it's draft season heating up and it's about to get hot and heavy, if I can use that.
Yeah, it's about that time, man. And we're finally heating up a little bit at Upside Swings finally too after a couple months of stop and go type stuff. So
Yeah, you could follow us like as a collective at Upside Swings on Twitter and on TikTok and soon probably YouTube. So expect more video content from us moving forward. We are getting more into a regular rhythm as far as recording. So there'll be a lot more content coming out on whatever podcast feed you use. For me personally, if you want hot and heavy analysis, as Corban put it, you could follow me at report_court. I'm finally starting to actually tweet again. I took a little bit of a break, but a lot of clippage going on over there. So if you're into that sort of thing, drop me a follow. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, like Stone said, follow the pod, follow us on TikTok, maybe YouTube if we find the time and energy. But yeah, more pod stuff will be coming out. You can follow us all individually, follow us together. I do stuff for HTX Chop Shop as well. Follow them. They do the most in-depth Rocket stuff there is. And I do some Rocket stuff over there as well. If you care about the biggest shit show in the NBA, then you can go there and you can get your fill of it every single day. It's incredible.
Or you could watch a Lakers game.
yeah, I was gonna say second biggest shit show.
The Lakers.
One of these teams is run by
One
is run by Rob Pelinka. So
one of these teams has LeBron James, who is arguably the greatest player of all time, and one of these teams is point guarded by Kevin Porter Jr., who I love, but is a shooting guard.
And whose best defensive player is Alperen Şengün? No, that's all. That's all
according to the numbers.
That's all for tonight, folks. You can follow me at Bryce Hendrick 14. I do a lot of writing and podcasting, all that fun stuff. So I won't get into all that here. Just if you give it a follow, you can click all the links and stuff. So thank you so much, Corban, for having me and for having us and for just being a great friend. So thank you.
I appreciate y'all. Right back at y'all. It's a lot of fun, and I'm glad we're able to link up and hopefully do some more of this sometime soon. But yeah, it's been great listening. Y'all check them out. Great stuff. I live by it for the draft. And if you're so inclined, you can follow me on Twitter at Corban NBA. I'm there. Got different things going on, different pods, all sorts of things. A lot of fun. So definitely do that. Some jokes that people, maybe one or two, will chuckle at. So check that out for sure. Aside from that, though, y'all, for Bryce, for Cooper, for Stone, we are Frosty. Y'all stay frosty. And I will talk to y'all real soon. All right, y'all.